What up? There are a lot of tutorials out there for Path of Exile 1, how to speed through the campaign, build guides, farm strategies, and so on. We've made a lot of them, but we haven't made a video about how maps work, how to sustain them, and all the specific methods for juicing up maps, so that's what we're gonna do here. Before we jump into it, help us out with some YouTube busy work, like and subscribe, and hype the video if you're on mobile. These all tell YouTube to show our videos to more people, which helps us keep doing this. Okay, let's start with a disclaimer. Phrecia League is coming back in about a week from the time of recording, and there are a lot of players for whom this will be their very first experience with PoE 1, which is a little bit like learning to swim by being thrown into the middle of the ocean, but that's fine. Phrecia League is very different, not a standard game mode for PoE. We've talked about it in a previous video, and while the majority of the information in this video will still be relevant, and we will make notes of anything that works differently during Phrecia League, this is all important information that you still need to learn about PoE 1. It's the stuff you need to know to play the game. So let's start with the most basic thing. What are maps? Maps are items that drop from monsters. They start dropping in the last couple acts of the campaign, and they continue dropping throughout the entire endgame. Well-rolled maps are the backbone of any successful in-game farming strategy. So once you've finished the campaign, you put maps into the map device in your hideout, you click activate, and 6 portals will spawn. Inside the portals, you'll find a map layout that resembles an area in the campaign. There's going to be a bunch of monsters, some random mechanics, and a map boss. Once you kill the map boss, the map will be completed. Maps have set layouts, areas are all procedurally generated with varying levels of randomness, just like in the campaign, but a Dunes map is always going to have the same basic look, the same basic number of monsters, and the same map boss in it. You consume a portal each time you enter a map, and if you die or leave the map for any reason, to trade with somebody or to go back to your hideout to get something out of the stash, you'll need to use another portal to re-enter the map. Once you use all 6 portals, the map is closed. If you're playing with a group, each player consumes their own portal when they enter the map. So in a 6-person group, everyone can enter the map once, but no one can rejoin if they leave or die. There are 16 tiers of maps by default, and these are kind of broken into 3 color codings. People refer to them as white maps for maps 1 through 5 because the icon is white. For maps that are between tier 6 and tier 10, they have yellow icons, so they're called yellow maps. And for maps that are tier 11 up through tier 16, they have red icons, so they're called red maps. Higher map tiers have higher level monsters and higher level drops. The difficulty and the reward goes up. Now let's talk about map mods. Map mods generally have a larger impact on difficulty and reward than tiers while you're progressing through the endgame. And because maps are items just like any other item that exists in PoE, you can put mods on them by alching them, or you can remove mods from them by scouring them. They work just like any other item. So one thing that all map mods in PoE 1 have in common is that they all grant quantity, rarity, and pack size. You can see that at the top of the tooltip here underneath the map tier. If I scour it, it'll all go back to 0, and if I alch it, again, quantity, rarity, and pack size. So there's a reward for every mod that you add to a map. Every mod makes the map harder and more rewarding. So now let's talk about the most basic strategy for making your maps have some mods to run them, and that would be alch and go, which is exactly in the name, right? You slap it with an alchemy orb, then you throw it into your map device, and you go. So this is basic. It's quick and easy. It's good for getting Atlas completion done or for progressing up to tier 16s at the start of a league, but it's not really an in-game farming strategy. It's the absolute most basic setup you can run. There are several other currency items that you can apply to maps that increase the amount of stuff that comes from them significantly. So the most basic one is chisels, and you can see here this has 49 item quantity on it, not a lot. And for each point of quality that you add, you gain 1% quantity. So you can use 4 chisels, roll a map up to 20 quality, that's the default maximum, and now you've gained 20 quantity. Quantity is exactly what it sounds like, you get more stuff out of the maps. It's always good to chisel your maps once you've reached any sort of high level strategy at all. Once you're in red maps and up, chiseling them is usually a good idea. Delirium orbs are another currency item that you can add onto maps. These are much more of an in-game strategy, and they can be quite difficult. They add constant delirium fog and delirium monsters into the area. They also make all the monsters in the area be delirious, which means they take less damage and do more. They also have increased quantity of items that they drop, and they also add this little noticeable fog effect to the map itself. Delirium orbs can be somewhat expensive for the same reason, like they are a useful in-game currency juicing strategy, and so there's a little bit of a cost to them. Orbs of Horizon reforge a map to be a map of the same tier. They won't remove the Delirium orb effect if you already have that on there, but they will re-roll any mods that are on there. They won't remove quality either. Harbinger's orbs are another type of currency that can only be used on maps, and what they do is they increase the map tier by 1 and reforge it into another map that is by default a map of that tier. So we can use it on this tier 15 Jungle Valley, and it'll convert into a tier 16. If we try and use it on a tier 16, that's the maximum, so it can't go any higher. These aren't usually all that useful. They're pretty good early on in map progression. If you're trying to continue increasing in tier, then they're very useful. One of the most effective ways to do that, other than just simply going and farming more maps of higher tiers, but that's basically all they do. There is a very small chance that they can corrupt an item into the beachhead, and that actually happened right here. This is a unique map that's not on the Atlas. It's really only ever used for like challenges, achievements, essentially. Not really that important, but it is something that is in the game, technically. So a lot of farm strategies will call for corrupted 8 mod maps, and there's really 2 main ways to get them. You can either force them to drop by using Scarabs of Corruption, these Cartography Scarabs of Corruption, which will force maps to drop corrupted with 8 modifiers, or you can actually just corrupt them by hand with Vol Orbs. So the way that you do this normally is you would chisel them up to 20 quality, alch them, like just alch them regular style and hope that they get good number of mods, and then you hit them with a Corruption Orb, and they may re-roll to a different map, they may increase to 8 mods, they may not, they may reduce in the number of mods, like anything is possible. This map did increase up to 8 mods, which is cool, but that's sort of the issue with like hand rolling them to up to 8 mods is it's completely RNG. You might get lucky, and it looks like in the course of rolling a bunch of maps here, we got lucky twice. So it can be kind of time consuming to do it this way. That's usually why people just stick with the standard of Cartography Scarabs of Corruption, where you can just get all the maps that drop in a map to be corrupted with 8 modifiers. The difference here is that because we were able to quality these up to 20% beforehand, these will have like 120% quantity on the item, whereas a standard 8 mod map's gonna have around 100% quantity, so you know, it's a little bit better. Sustaining maps is a big concern at the start of any PoE 1 league. This is because you aren't guaranteed to get map drops in every single map. Players want to climb from tier 1 to tier 16 maps as quickly as they can so that they can start farming the endgame very efficiently, and continually getting higher level maps can be a bit of a challenge unless you have the right setup. Having to go back down in map tiers because you ran out of higher level maps to run happens to everyone at some point, but it never feels good. So let's take a look at the Atlas. When you're progressing through the Atlas, you begin at the bottom and work your way up. At the very start, all of this area will be grayed out. You'll only be able to see the 4 starting maps. Maps can only drop if they are a map you've already completed, or they are next to a map that you're currently running on the Atlas. You can get around this a bit with Horizon Orbs and Harbinger Orbs, or with some lucky corruptions from your Vol Orbs. Commander Kirak can also offer missions for the Atlas that completely circumvent this as well, and completing missions for Kirak will count toward your Atlas progression. Kirak can also sell maps as well, and they do not abide by all the rules of map drops. He's awesome. The main way you accomplish map sustain is through the Atlas passive tree and Voidstones. The Atlas passive tree is critical for sustaining maps early in in-game progression, thanks to bonuses like Shaping the Skies, Shaping the Mountains, and Shaping the World. These bonuses that give a chance for tier 1 to tier 15 maps to be found a tier higher helps immensely. Getting extra map drops from map bosses and just monsters throughout maps is also really good. All these small passives in the bottom section of the tree that give a chance for a monster to drop an additional connected map are great. As for the map device, you can put scarabs into the map device as well as maps. Scarabs are items that you put into the map device along with a map, and then they grant extra content in the map, or modify other content that's in the map as well. For example, these Scarabs of Monstrous Lineage, they give you 40% increased magic pack size. These Divination Scarabs of Plenty, they add extra packs of monsters into the map. So if we were to put those in and activate the map, now we're gonna have increased magic pack size and several extra magic packs that are in there and are pretty dangerous actually. By default, the map device only has 4 slots available at first. You're able to add 2 extra slots by completing your first 10 boss Maven invitation and your first tier 17 map. More on those later. The map device also allows you to add mechanics onto your maps. By default, you just get increased quantity of items for free, which is cool. Otherwise, you'll have to pay a small number of Chaos Orbs in order to add those mechanics, but you do get the benefit of getting more of that type of Scarab to drop in your map as well. So let's talk about bonus objectives and the Atlas passive tree. Completing each map's bonus objective grants 1 passive point for the Atlas passive tree, where you can get a full set of 132. 115 of those points come from completing Atlas objectives, the other 17 are from Maven invitations and pinnacle bosses. So for getting the bonus objectives of white tier maps, that's tier 1 to 5, the bonus objective is just to clear the map that's rolled up to at least magic. Very easy. For yellow tier maps, that's 6 to 10, the map needs to be rare, and for red tier maps, 11 through 16, then the map needs to be rare and corrupted. For unique maps, the goal of each map is a little different, and they're all kind of gimmicky, and it's a little bit annoying that they're actually still on the Atlas, but that's just part of the game. You unlock a second Atlas passive tree setup at 50 bonuses completed, and a third at 100 bonuses completed. Now in Phrecia League, there is no Atlas passive tree, so those bonuses don't apply. Instead, you unlock idle slots. That's the only real change. It sounds like a small one, but it's actually pretty massive. The Phrecia idle system deserves its own entire video though, because it's humongous. So what are Voidstones? The first time you kill each of the 4 main in-game bosses of Path of Exile, that's Eater of Worlds, Searing Exarch, Maven, and Uber Elder, you unlock a Voidstone. Socketing each of those 4 Voidstones into your Atlas increases the level of the base maps. And by having all 4 Voidstones in, all of the maps on your Atlas are tier 16s by default. Just to show what they're like with them all removed, you can see tier 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 16, and with all of them in, it's 16s from top to bottom. This is super important because there are many things that are specific to maps. So tier 17 map drops will be different based on the map that you are running, and divination card drops will be different based on the map you are running. A lot of these are strategy specific and kind of outside the scope of this video, but every single map has its own set of div cards that are capable of dropping, and they are all only capable of dropping one single specific type of tier 17 map. So as you progress through yellow and red tier maps, you unlock the ability to apply Eldritch altars from the Eater of Worlds or Searing Exarch onto your maps. You can just click their icon and they'll light up, and that means they're going to be applied to that map. When you kill monsters influenced by the Eater or Exarch, they have a chance to spawn an altar that grants a choice of bonuses and downsides. There are 3 types. There are bonuses and downsides for players, monsters, and bosses. You always get 2 options to choose from. Boss options are usually the least rewarding, and player downsides are usually the most dangerous, which means monster rewards kind of hit the sweet spot for being simple, not that dangerous, and fairly rewarding. They're much better for Searing Exarch on average, things like chance to drop an extra Chaos Orb. Killing the map boss turns off the ability to get boss rewards as an option from altars, so rushing to the boss and killing it quickly is a key part of a lot of good farm strategies. Eater altars usually give better player rewards, just more quantity of items dropped, but very occasionally you can get a divine orb from monsters in the map, reward altar bonus from Eater of Worlds, and here is an example of one. The third icon in the middle of the map device is for the Maven. She's an alternative to the Eldritch altar bosses who only applies to the boss of maps. She shows up and buffs them, but also makes the boss drop more stuff. With some Atlas passives, she can summon up to 3 additional map bosses that all drop items as well. Defeating bosses that are being witnessed by the Maven will allow her to add them into an invitation that you can fight later. It's basically just a little miniature boss gauntlet. The Maven is usually not as good for farm strategies as the other 2 Eldritch bosses, but there are some Maven strategies that can be really good. What are tier 17 maps? Tier 17s are a special type of map that can only drop in tier 16 maps once you have unlocked your first Voidstone. Tier 17 maps aren't on the Atlas, and they are a considerable step up in difficulty from tier 16 maps. They have harder monsters, much harder map bosses, and they can roll with unique tier 17 only map mods that grant extra bonuses like more currency and more map drops, on top of the usual quantity, rarity, and pack size. The map bosses in tier 17s also drop key fragments required to fight uber bosses. You can't alch and scour tier 17s either. The only thing that you can do to reroll the mods on them is spam them with Chaos Orbs, and that's pretty much it. So what's the drop chance for tier 17 maps? It's very confusingly written on the Voidstones what the drop chance is. It's a 0.4% chance for tier 16 maps to drop as tier 17 maps instead, per socketed Voidstone. This sounds confusing, but basically it just means once you have all 4, it's 6.4%. Tier 16.5s are another type of map that can exist in PoE's Endgame. Once you complete Egan's questline, that's this guy over here in the hood, you will begin finding tier 16 maps with a special outline on their icon, as you can see, and an implicit that says, the area is influenced by the originator's memories. What this means is that these maps can roll the same tier 17 map mods that grant more currency, more scarabs, more maps, and so on. Other than that, these are the same standard tier 16 map layouts that you're already used to. They're just much harder because those tier 17 map mods are bone-crunchingly difficult. Tier 16.5 maps also feature memory skills, which are a separate set of keybindable skills. There are a bunch of different memory skills. They can range anywhere from giving you bonuses to making monsters more difficult and more rewarding, or allowing them to respawn upon death and drop items a second time. They're really all over the place. They're pretty complicated, and honestly, they're a little bit of more work than they're worth. Sometimes having to hit a bunch of extra keybinds throughout the course of otherwise very fast mapping is a little tiring, but they are a reason why tier 16.5 maps can at times be more rewarding than tier 17s, but a little bit more work. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and finally thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more PoE content, consider becoming a channel member as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.